Welcome everyone to Solar Oregon's Comparing Solar Quotes workshop. My name is Nicole and I'm a program manager at the nonprofit Solar Oregon. This is a reoccurring workshop. We also offer another reoccurring workshop called How to Go Solar Plus Storage, and that focuses just on the basics of solar and storage and the incentives. And today's webinar will be also looking at example quotes and what to look out for when you are comparing solar quotes. So we've been providing education on solar and storage for over 16 years, and we work to provide you with information that you need to make good and informed choices as you explore solar and or solar plus storage. So thank you all for joining today. We'll be going over the system components. So if you did attend our How to Go Solar and Storage workshop, some of those slides might look familiar to you. We'll go over elements in a quote, other criteria that you might want to keep an eye out for as you're reviewing quotes, some example quotes, and also just remind you how you can be connected with solar contractors in our state. Solar Oregon is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we've worked to encourage solar and home battery storage adoption in the state for over 46 years. We do this by providing reliable and impartial consumer education. We also work to build a clean energy community. We perform outreach across the state, and we also do some policy advocacy. Um, with current legislative session, um, happening right now in our state. There are a lot of local directives that are looking to support renewable energy as well as affordable energy rates. So if that is something you're interested in or interested in supporting, it's great to be keyed into the bills that are going up in our state legislature. We also host Solarize campaigns, solar tours, zero energy showcases, and we also host expert panel discussions on a range of topics related to solar. We're a member-based organization as well, so thank you to our current members. And if you're interested in becoming a member, you can find out more at this QR code. And members receive discounts to our solar winery tour and our Go Zero tour. Most of our events are free, and we work to keep them that way so that education can be easily accessible. I'm also going to put some links in the chat for resources I'll be referencing throughout this webinar. There are links to our website, our event page, as well as resources for finding a contractor and also looking into community solar. I did mention our solar winery tour, and so that's one of our upcoming events this May 10th. So if you enjoy renewable energy and our local wine here in the Willamette Valley, this is a really fun event. And we'll be stopping at a winery that is in the valley, as well as we'll stop at a local farm to learn about the solar that they have installed at the farm. So if you're interested in getting tickets for that, there are early bird tickets live now. Um, and then I just want to go ahead and run some polls as well as I'm presenting, just to learn a little bit more about where you all are joining from today. So the first poll is a locations poll, just to see what part of the state you're joining from. And this helps us so we know where our education is reaching. And then we'll also do, after this poll, a demographics poll so we can see who our education is reaching. Okay, and then the last poll is your familiarity with energy trust incentives. Great. Thanks for sharing a little bit more about you so that we can keep improving these programs. This workshop series is also supported by Energy Trust of Oregon. Energy Trust is an independent nonprofit that was established in 2002 that provides resources to help enable customers of the investor-owned utilities in our state to use energy efficiently, as well as to gain access to renewable energy. They offer key incentives for solar installation and battery storage, and so we will share those in this workshop just so that you're aware of them. And so thank you, Energy Trust. For more information, you can check out their website at energytrust.org or scan the QR code here, which will take you to their page on solar. Energy Trust also has a solar bid tool. They have a certification program for contractors in our state. And so they have a trade ally network for solar contractors, and these are pre-vetted contractors that are more local. So if you are at the phase where you're still looking to connect with a contractor, this solar bid tool is a quick form that can help you connect with these pre-vetted solar contractors. These Energy Trust Trade Ally contractors are also the only ones who can offer the Energy Trust incentives that we'll share later in this presentation. The links to Energy Trust page are also in the links I posted in the chat, or you can scan this QR code on this page here. As we go through this workshop, please feel free to post any questions that come up for you in the Q&A box. We'll be using the chat just to post resources and links that we're referencing, but feel free to put questions in the Q&A as we will be saving time for those at the end of the presentation. So now let's jump into some solar and storage basics. If you have attended our How to Go Solar and Storage workshop, some of these will look familiar to you. So this is a typical system that is grid tied, meaning it's connected to the utility grid. It shows the photovoltaic or PV panel that would collect the sunlight and turn it into a special voltage of electricity called direct current or DC. Then that electricity would flow to an inverter or microinverter where it would be converted to alternating current or AC, and then it would flow to the electrical panel or breaker box in your home. Once there, it can be used by the outlets and appliances in your home. And because this is an example of a grid-tied system, you can see that you're still connected to the utility, and so you get a special bidirectional meter that would measure the flow of electricity that you send back out to the grid, as well as any electricity you pull from the grid. So in a maybe winter month when your solar is not producing as much as it would in a summer month, you could still pull from the grid and that utility meter would measure the difference. So just a quick recap of net metering. Net metering is a process that allows you to account for the energy that you export so that you can gain credit for it. And the credits you would gain would be a banked excess generation credit, which you can see in this example bill here, where it shows year to date. And you can see how much has been banked by this particular homeowner. This really can help you build up credits during the sunny summer months and be able to access those credits during the winter months. The net metering year starts on April 1st, right before the sunny months start, so that you can build up those credits and access them throughout the year. Any credits that you don't use by March 31st, when the net metering year ends, would then be donated to low-income customers who are also accessing the same grid. So it is really important to size your system to what your energy consumption needs are so that you're producing enough, but not too much, since if you produce too much energy, you would be sending a lot of excess generation to the grid, which is good to help cover the credits. But if you have too much, those do get donated at the end of the net metering year, which is March 31st. So those net metering credits will roll over month to month, but not year to year. So sizing your system accurately is really going to be important. Solar is highly modular, and residential solar systems vary widely in size. So your system should be sized based on how much electricity you consume, and your contractor will be looking at your energy bills and also talk through your goals for your home, such as, are you looking to add an EV charger or a battery? Other factors can impact the size of your system, such as location, your roof condition, what available space you have, your budget, and the aesthetics. Um, Solar is measured in kW or kilowatts, and storage is measured in kilowatt hours. The average size solar system in our state right now is about 8 kilowatts, and the average size home battery storage is about 13.5 kilowatts for one battery. So when you are having this conversation with your contractor, they will look to design a system that meets but does not exceed your estimated annual consumption. Before we look at some elements in a quote, we'll recap some reasons why costs can vary. So we did mention that solar and storage is highly modular and it can be different from site to site, whether you're a home or a business. So some of these reasons that costs can vary are going to be that system size. How big is your system? And do you need to make any upgrades or have any structural analysis done? For example, if you need to re-roof or if you need to add extra roofing supports before the solar can be installed. If your electrical panel is older, that might need to be upgraded before you add solar. The system design will also impact the cost and your access to incentives. And then when you become interconnected to the grid, that can also impact your cost. And if you are adding battery storage as well, that can increase the cost of your overall system. It is common for people to add batteries to existing systems. So if you are looking to add a battery to an existing system, that is a possibility. And when you add solar, can impact your cost if your system needs to be redesigned in order to accommodate that battery, that would be additional cost. If you decide to do a smart electrical panel. We will have a workshop on smart electrical panels in April, and we do have a recording that talks about them as well. But this technology can help you be more flexible with your loads, and you can customize what um, you are sending power to. So, if that's something you want to learn more about, check out our upcoming event in April for smart electrical panels. In addition to the ability to access incentives, uh, there are incentives for both solar and storage. Um, and depending on what incentives you can access, that can impact your cost as well. For these reasons, I can't give you a quote over over this webinar and what your system will cost, because so many of these aspects are going to be specific to your site and your goals with your system. When you're comparing different solar quotes, you'll want to know the differences in how much power your system is producing. And oftentimes, quotes will have an example or an estimate of your annual production. Some simple metrics that you can use to compare system production are how many watts are in your system. So we mentioned earlier that the average is an 8 kilowatt system, so that would be 8,000 watts. And if you did have, for example, an 8 kilowatt system, to figure out your cost per watt, you would divide the cost to install your system by 8,000 watts. And so that can give you a cost per watt to compare. That's not going to be the only thing you're going to want to look at, though, because you do want to look at some other things about The company you're choosing to work with, do they have a good reputation? Do they offer any assistance if there's a problem with your system? So there are a lot of things that are important to look at besides just the cost per watt. When you are getting quotes from contractors, we recommend getting at least 3 quotes. For some rural parts of our state, there might not be that many solar contractors, but do your best to try to get 3 to compare so you can compare what this different quotes are offering and see what is the best option for you. We're going to jump right into some elements that you might see on a quote outside of the estimated production. In your quote, you'll usually see what type of equipment is used, as well as the size of your system, the layout of your system. So you'll get what almost looks like a little blueprint that shows how the panels will be installed on your roof and how many panels there'll be. It'll talk about the installation time, maybe estimated time for that, as well as warranties, maintenance, permitting, things like that. Other items that might be on your quote are adders or add-ons. So if you were deciding to get a battery, that would be something you'd want to compare across your 3 quotes. What type of battery is it? What's the battery capacity? Are they quoting for more than one battery? Depending if you are doing a partial home backup or a whole home backup, there might be a different number of batteries quoted in your solar quote. Um, Partial backups tend to be more common where people are choosing to just back up a select circuits in their home, such as maybe a common room, power for their refrigerator, lights in that common room, as well as having access to an outlet where they can recharge their phone or laptop. Other adders you might see are um, any upgrades, or if you're looking to get that smart electrical panel, that might be on there. Um, and then even critter guards. So some options to keep squirrels from going under your panels is to have a critter guard installed around it, since oftentimes there is a little gap between the roof and the panel. And so you just want to be looking at what all is included and is that included on all the different quotes. A big price difference can come down to your system design and what brands are present in your system. So, really want to pay attention to what technology is in your system, what brand of battery is being used. Um, a good topic to discuss with your installer is, uh, how do the brands that are listed in my quote work? Um, how do they work together? Is there a reasoning for why this brand is preferred over a different brand? And then you can also look at um, if you're installing newer technology, asking about that, such as like a span panel, which is becoming more common, but it can be costly. So if you have that smart electrical panel that is installed, just asking your contractor, you know, about that so you're informed about the technology. And many of the Trade Ally contractors who are part of the Trade Ally network are really helpful as you ask questions, and they're looking to educate so that you're aware of what you're getting. Both microinverters and string inverters work in our state, but there might be a different recommendation over another on a quote, depending on what your system needs are and the way that your system is designed for your particular site. For your system, you'll have at least 2 warranties. and one that will be on the parts in the system, and then one for workmanship. So warranties can range depending on what they're for the number of years that they last. Um, Energy Trust of Oregon does have their trade allies do have a at least a 2-year system warranty that covers the labor for any repairs resulting um, from your system that are needed. And then Solar Within Reach is an income qualified program through the Energy Trust of Oregon, and they have a 7-year workmanship warranty on eligible items. So, really just looking at what warranties are offered and how long each of those warranties last and what's covered so that you are aware and in the loop on what is warranted and not. And you'll want to look at that and compare that between the different quotes. As well as with a financial decision, you'll want to make sure that you take time to review the contract and solar quote before signing, and just make sure you are considering the small print so that you are keeping yourself informed before you go under contract. With major financial decisions, you can consult a financial professional. That can be helpful as well. It's really important to look at the payment structure of your system. So, how much is the monthly payment? Is there interest that you're paying through your payment structure? And if you're financing, you want to look at if there's any penalties for paying early and see if there's any other additional fees that are part of that payment structure. Because solar and battery storage does entail a large upfront cost, many homeowners do utilize financing. Uh, but with financial decisions, you should review them carefully before deciding to sign. Some solar installers offer financing options through a third-party broker. Um, Also, sometimes you might already have a relationship with a bank or credit union. So you'll want to compare financing through the bank or credit union that you have access to, as well as if there is a financing option through the solar contractor to see what is the best financing option for you. Some homeowners will obtain a loan through a bank, like I mentioned, but not all banks have loan products that are specifically tailored to solar. So that's also something to keep in mind. Note that interest payments on your loan don't always qualify for, or they do not qualify for the ITC claim. So let's say that you get financing through your contractor because they have a third party broker. Sometimes these loans will allow you to refinance when you claim the ITC, and the ITC, which we'll talk about on the next slide, is the solar investment tax credit. But note that interest payments on your loan usually do not qualify for this credit. So just to recap what incentives are available, there is currently the ITC or Federal Solar Investment Tax Credit, which is a dollar for dollar tax credit, meaning you can reduce the taxes you owe by 30% of the cost. So you want to see if the loan, if you are getting financing for solar, does let you refinance when you receive these funds. Um, with the ITC, if you're planning to claim this, just be aware that there are myths out there about what can be claimed. For example, re-roofing costs cannot be claimed by this solar investment tax credit. But what can is your solar installation, as well as if you get battery storage that is covered under this. We are not tax professionals here at Solar Oregon, but we just want to provide this information to you so that you're aware of your options. If you do have a tax professional We do recommend working with them to make sure that you are claiming this correctly. It's pretty simple to claim, but just to make sure that you're getting what that filed correctly, it is helpful to work with a tax professional. We did mention that Energy Trust of Oregon offers some incentives, and so they have a standard incentive for solar and for storage, depending on if you're a Pacific Power or PGE customer, and that can vary with the amount of incentive that you can access. So, for example, for solar, they have a $950 solar tax credit for PGE customers. And that would be something that your Energy Trust Trade Ally contractor can help you claim. So, this would actually impact your out of pocket cost, where the federal tax credit would be something that you do when you are filing your taxes and would less the taxes that you own or that you owe your tax liability. Um, but these standard incentives through Energy Trust would be impacting your out of pocket cost. And so if you're a Pacific Power customer, the incentive is $1,100 for solar, and then for the standard incentive, if you are adding a battery or getting battery storage, both for PGE and Pacific Power, there is a $475 per kilowatt hour incentive, up to $5,700. Um, Energy Trust of Oregon also has a solar within reach incentive. And so this is an income qualified incentive, and that's available um, for both solar and storage. And so if you want to learn more about the income thresholds for that, I'm just going to put the links in the chat again. You can head to the Energy Trust website and they have that table there as well. The income threshold did recently get increased, so definitely recommend taking a look, even if you think you won't qualify, because you may. So that is something that the Energy Trust Trade Ally contractors for solar can help walk you through as they're allowed to help folks apply for those. All right, so looking beyond the actual quote, there are some other things you might want to consider or look out for, such as credentials. Does a contractor or company you're looking at or looking to work with have any credentials, such as are they part of the Energy Trust of Oregon Trade Ally Network? Do they have other certifications? Some examples could be, are they a B Corp? And is it being a B Corp important to you? Are they a Better Business Bureau recognized company? What are their beliefs and values? If that's something that interests you, you can look at that when you compare your solar quotes. Also, looking at testimonials and reviews online can be helpful. If you're looking to add a newer technology, such as a smart electrical panel, or even if you're looking into solar roof tiles, which is also roofing material as well as solar, and these solar roof tiles, not all contractors install. Getting a testimonial from a customer who has had this technology installed, if it's newer, is helpful. Um, and so if you're thinking about something that's newer, such as those two technologies, maybe you'd want to get a testimonial of a recent customer who installed this project to see how their experience was. As you're working to look at a testimonial or maybe connecting with a customer from one of the contractor's previous projects, you could ask about their experience working with the contractor. And then also remember that your contractor, um, they're a great resource to ask questions to as well. So if you're reading your quote and you have questions that do come up, feel free to reach out to them. The Trade Ally Network contractors do really try to prioritize educating the customers Um, and if you have any questions that aren't getting answered, you can always reach out to Solar Oregon. We have our direct email in the chat. And so if there are questions that come up as you're looking at these quotes, feel free to reach out to us as well. Some of the softer stuff you might want to consider is maybe the company culture, if that's something that's important to you. Company size and structure. Is it a local company or a national company? How many years they have been in business? Um, because you want to make sure that you're working with a reputable company that has a good reputation. So if you do need to follow up with them, you want them to be communicative and also be around so that you can contact them in the future. We'll look at some example quotes now. So oftentimes quotes will have basic information that's included. So you might see something like this, where it has a system overview. You'll see the system size that we talked about. So the size of your solar being measured in kilowatts. And then if you do get a battery, that would be measured in kilowatt hours. I should look at how many batteries are included in the quote. What type of production monitoring is there? What type of equipment is used for the panels, inverters, and then looking at any estimates for energy consumption or production. Remember to look at the price per watt for your system. That's not the only figure that matters, but it is helpful to see and be able to compare. Um, and if there are any incentives that your contractor is helping you access, so just as a reminder, to get the Energy Trust incentives, you'd have to work with one of the certified trade ally contractors. If you're getting any financing, you'd want to see what the loan amount is, what the loan payment per month is, the system price. Be looking for any adders or discounts that are marked on the quote. And then in this example, you can see it shows the system size and system equipment, estimated yearly production. So being able to look at these items across the different quotes so that you're comparing exactly what you're getting in each of these quotes to make the best decision for your home. If you're financing your system, just some reminders of what you should review. You should look at interest rates, dealer fees, penalties for early payoff. Is the loan fixed or variable? How many times can you amortize the loan? What are the refinancing options? And is there an option to refinance once you claim the Federal Solar Investment Tax Credit or ITC? Who services the loan, and what is the monthly loan payment? Finally, we'll take a look at how you can connect to a contractor. So besides offering the incentives that we discussed, Energy Trust of Oregon has a certification program for contractors to help ensure a high quality of workmanship. Energy Trust Trade Ally contractors have been rigorously vetted and are the only contractors who can offer the Energy Trust incentives. And so if you're looking to work with a more local and reputable contractor, that's a good place to start. And they have this solar bid tool that takes about 3 to 5 minutes to fill out, and where you can share, where you are looking to add solar, as well as what you're looking to do for your project. And then they will match you with Energy Trust Trade Ally contractors that serve your area. There's also a QR code here you can scan to pull up that bid tool. Once you've selected your contractor, received your quotes, you'll want to do the things that we discussed to review those quotes. And we recommend having at least three different quotes to compare if you're able. Once you decide to move forward with one of the quotes, you would sign your contract, and then you would move forward into the installation process. So your contractor We'll help handle the permitting, apply for Energy Trust of Oregon state incentives on your behalf if you're working with a trade ally, and design your system. It's important to remember that they will need your signatures as they work through different steps of this process. So, staying organized and working together will help make it a more smooth process. Although the system design can be quick, some jurisdictions do have longer permitting times. So, for example, if you're in Multnomah County, permitting can take longer than if you're in a different part of the state. Um, for this reason, permitting can sometimes um, impact the timing of your installation. Once permitting is approved, your installation usually takes 1 to 4 days. It's pretty quick for a process. If you have a pretty complex system or you're adding a lot of batteries, it would be more days, but usually they can install in 1 to 2 days. After the system is installed, your contractor will manage your permit um, inspections and then help coordinate the installation of the bidirectional meter if you're a grid tied system. They'll also help schedule your interconnection with the utility. Interconnection can take a few weeks, so that's a good thing to keep in mind. Once you're interconnected, your system will be producing clean and renewable power from the sunlight falling right on your property. So yeah, installation is usually pretty fast, and we'll jump right into Q&A. I'm going to run the last poll while I pull up the Q&A, and it's just asking what you thought of today's workshop. And so that way we can improve these workshops. So let us know what you thought of today. I'll launch that now.